Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal, and Brawlers Guild is making its return as of the patch 11.2.7. Brawlers Guild is an older piece of content that existed in previous expansions, but similar to content like Horrific Visions, it is being brought back for the tail end of the War Within. Brawlers Guild is both a social hub, but also an opportunity for players to step into the ring to fight a variety of various different boss fights and advance through ranks. And as you do that, you'll be able to earn a bunch of rewards from new mounts, pets, as well as even some new housing decorations to add for your new home. Recently, they allowed us to finally preview this piece of content over in the PTR realm. So for today's video, I wanted to go over everything that we can expect from Brawlers Guild and give you a bit of a preview as to what the content is like, as well as some of the items you will be able to earn from it whenever patch 11.2.7 officially goes live. As always, if you guys want to keep up with regular future updates for War Within, but also other content like Legion Remix, as well as Midnight updates, be sure to follow the channel and subscribe. But otherwise, let's dive right in. First of all, what is Brawlers Guild for any of you that might have missed out on this feature? Because I know I did miss out on a huge portion of this feature. This was available during Pandaria for a short bit, and then they brought it back for a short bit of time, but then at some point the Brawlers Guild kind of faded away, so there's a good chance that if you played in the last few expansions, you've never got to experience this before. Brawlers Guild is essentially a solo PvE challenge. Very similar to like the Mage Tower of Legion, or like if you're fighting one of the Delve bosses within like Season 1, 2, or Season 3 of Delves, you know, like when you're fighting Zekvir, the Underpin, Kaiveza, it's pretty much that, but it's like a series of challenges. First of all, the actual area is located secluded away in Orgrimmar and Stormwind in a very secret location. For Stormwind, you actually have to go to the tram, and it's on the Lion's Stormwind side. There's actually like a staircase down where the Brawlers pub is. In the Horde, it's actually a separate building that's a separate instance that most players don't go into. There's a good chance maybe you've accidentally wandered there and wondered why there's a big arena. Yeah, that is because that is where the Brawlers Guild is for the Horde. It's a big area that everybody can spectate as you fight your own challenges, and it has this like spectator queue system. Like you'll talk to one of the guards and you'll be put in a queue if you're looking to fight a challenge, and as you're fighting your challenge, everybody in the Brawlers area will be able to actually watch you compete, seeing your victories or possibly mistakes, and it's an opportunity for you to cheer on your friends, but also to learn from other players, like what are some of the different mechanics, what are some of the different encounters, what mistakes other players make potentially. So it's actually really cool and like a very unique social system that they added for this event. There's also a bunch of vendors down here with a bunch of rewards, some new rewards that are coming out for the return of Brawlers Guild, which I'll talk about in a bit. But primarily there's going to be a bunch of cosmetics to collect, especially if you're somebody who's looking to add even more doodads into your housing abode. There's also many bosses for you to fight. Unlike the Mage Tower or Delve bosses, this place is filled with one-on-one encounters. Sometimes one-on-two where you're fighting multiple enemies, but every single enemy has some sort of a gimmick for you to compete against, so it's actually pretty fun. And as you fight these bosses, you actually progress in ranks within Brawlers Guild. The higher in ranks you go, the harder the enemies become, the more challenging some of the mechanics are going to be. And there's also a return for many of the old fights from the original Brawlers Guild that is making a return for the patch 11.2.7, but also new encounters as well. Some of the old fights are going to be Bruce, for instance, a variety of different variations of Bruce as he gets upgraded, harder, better, faster, stronger. You also got the janitor fight that spawns brooms, as well as fights like Blinktrong 3000, where you got to chain a bunch of little Blinktrong bots and then zap them to do a bunch of damage to the boss. But then there's also some new fights as well, and I haven't seen all of them, but I did find myself fighting against a Swabby from Plunderstorm, which uses the same Plunderstorm type of abilities, and even does this like Fortnite, a base construction where they try to go up to the top and re-heal, where you gotta break down the construction as quick as possible to take him down. So there are some new encounters for players that are familiar with Brawlers Guild to expect here, and as you move up in ranks, you'll not only be able to get to the harder bosses, better rewards, but also even unlock a unique VIP area for players that have achieved higher rank, which is pretty cool. It doesn't really do anything, but it does give you some social status above everybody else, because the guards will kick out other players, but they'll let you into the VIP area anytime you want to, which is pretty awesome. Now, the actual fights themselves, there's a variety of different encounters, and I will definitely not be able to recount all of them in a single video. Maybe in the future I'll do a guide for every single one of the encounters and how to defeat them, what the mechanics are. But at the very beginning, as you're going through Brawlers Guild, you start with some really easy bosses. One of the first bosses was a flower that creates ads every time I deal enough damage to it, and those ads will protect the flower, so you gotta kill the little ads before you can fight the boss. And during that time, you just gotta kill the ads as a higher priority, dodge green effects on the ground, and then DPS the boss. And it's a very, very simple encounter, but then it ramps up little by little to eventually I got a dino which can one-shot if it rams you, but every time it rams into a wall, it takes additional damage. So you want to dodge it and then save your cooldowns in order to maximize that effectiveness window. But every time the boss hits a wall, he's going to do more charges before he gets that vulnerability debuff. So you really got to kind of play around that debuff, and if you're really trying to make the timer. What's cool about this encounters is there's many different counters with a bunch of mechanics, so there's plenty of variety to look forward to, but at the same time, even though these bosses all have unique mechanics, it's all a very bite-sized experience. You're not really going to be fighting these bosses for like 2 minutes or 3 minutes. It's really going to be very, 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 very short. Like, even if you're taking counters a little too long, the announcer at some point actually makes an announcement that, hey, you're holding up the line since other players are waiting to fight their bosses. And at some point, they'll just turn on the fire, which will try to like kick you out of the encounter by forcing a corner and then eventually blow you up. So none of these encounters are meant to be something that overstays their welcome. Now, for all of these fights, there is also a queue line. Since you're not necessarily going to like a separate scenario to fight these bosses, you're actually in like a social hub fighting these enemies while other players can observe you, or you can observe other players fighting these bosses as well. And depending on how popular your area is, you may actually have to wait some time before you can actually fight some of these bosses because of the queue. You actually have to line up and make sure you don't miss your queue in line. Because of the fact that you're having to wait in an actual line with other players, if let's say there's like 20 or 30 players ahead of you, there may be some of a gap in between you actually fighting these bosses. So you can't just, double back from one attempt into the next. You may actually be waiting a considerable bit of time before you can attempt the boss again. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did some kind of tech in order to make sure not too many players are in a single brawl phase instance, or players will find a way to phase themselves out or seclude themselves in a separate shard using like invites to other servers and other characters. So we'll see exactly how that works out, but I do remember the lines being quite long during the original launch of Brawlers Guild, where some players would actually wait until nighttime where most players are asleep, and that's when they would log on to try to get a couple attempts since the queues were not nearly as long. Now, speaking of the rewards, however, we do have 3 vendors that are not necessarily new. They're returning vendors for the Brawlers Guild, and there's going to be different vendors for Alliance and Horde. The first vendor is going to be the Quartermaster, which has a majority of the cool items you're looking to get. Here we have a bunch of different potions that can be used within Brawlers Guild to either increase your primary stats, so you don't have to spend like actual potions from the auction house, and you can just use these instead to buff up your character, but also healing potions, and none of them are really all that expensive. Although these prices right now are PTR prices, I don't know if they're going to go up later down the line. You also have some really cool stuff as you progress through the different ranks. You'll be able to get Brawler's Barricade, which is a housing decoration, Clockham, which is a pet that you can add to your collections, Tyler the Gordon, which is yet another pet that you can add as well, a Pugilist Powerful Punching Ring, which isn't really a great rank, but it does give you the ability to teleport directly to the Brawlers Guild, so potentially maybe really good to pick up if you're just trying to port here more than regularly. A Brawlers Guild Tabard, which is really plain looking for the most part. It just has some Alliance colors to it, but it's for the most part plain blue, and I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be plain red for the Horde side. Later down the line, you can get the Brawlers Guild Punching Bag, also another item that you can add to your decoration. And then pretty early on, like at rank 7, you can get the Brawlin Bruno Mount, which is yet another Crocolisk mount that you can get. Not exactly the same as the original one, but something along those same lines. So if you've never gotten the original Brawlers Guild mount, then you'll have a second chance to get yourself another one. Champion Brawler's Gloves, which is yet another decoration for your home. And then we get some unique stuff at rank 8, like Razor Claws, Brawler's Razor Claws, which are an heirloom weapon, which grants you agility, stamina, critical strike, and haste. So this is going to be an item that will upgrade with your character, and what players love about it is for its unique model, especially on wargame characters that can wield fist weapons, like rogues. It looks amazing. There's also a whole Brawlers Guild ensemble with all the different pieces. Not the biggest fan of the helmet specifically, but the rest of the set does look really good in my opinion. And then we also have the Ballistic Bronco, which is a rocket flying mount that you will also be add to your collection, also locked behind rank 8. Outside of the main Quartermaster vendor, we got some other vendors here as well. As you fight fights within the Brawlers Guild, you'll be able to get Brawlers Gold, which allows you to purchase fun items to use within the Brawlers area specifically, like a bag of chipped dice, which delivered to Bismo's Brawl Pub Bouncer to enable a random brawl mode where you can fight random NPCs within the Brawl area. Brawler's Potion Dispenser, which allows you to buy a keg that dispenses free potions to all players for the next 30 minutes. But we also got free drinks voucher where players can buy any drinks from the pub for 2 minutes. As well as a VIP room rental where basically anybody can go to the VIP area for 10 minutes. Don't have to be, max rank players. It could just anybody can visit. It's just fun stuff to basically dump all of your Brawlers Gold. It doesn't actually have any other uses from what I've been able to see. None of the vendors really use it, so it just will be on items that you'll likely end up spending in order to have more social experiences within this area. Now, the last NPC is going to be a card trader, and they have these challenge cards that you can purchase once you hit rank 8 to be able to get a second chance to fight some of the different bosses that are available within Brawlers Guild. And you can actually see just how many bosses they are, and if you scroll through it, there's a bunch of different encounters that you'll be able to play through. You won't be able to see all of these encounters the first time you play it. At least I feel like I've definitely missed some of them, but you could see there's a ton of different encounters for you to be able to potentially play through all over again. So there's a bunch of bosses for you to look forward to, and the card trader allows you to queue up for these specific bosses once you hit rank 8. But with that, as always, I want to thank all of you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did enjoy it or found it informative, go ahead and give it a like, as I would very much appreciate it. Also, be sure to join our Discord community, especially if you want to keep up with future updates like 11.2.7, Midnight Alpha updates, or anything of that sort. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below, and as always, I'll see all of you guys in the next one.